After the Brett Laurie pick, Jason Kipnis was selected, then Carlos Santana, Ian Desmond, Elvis Andrews, Shin-Soo Choo, Aramis Ramirez, Zach Greinke, Jonathan Papelbon, Brandon Phillips, and Max Scherzer. Now that we're into round 7, the first 2 picks have been Jimmy Rollins and Yadier Molina. In a 12-team league, I can get a little bit more behind drafting a catcher in these middle rounds, but I still like to wait. Looking at who's still available, I know that Posey and Yachty have been selected. I think someone took Victor Martinez as well. Joe Mauer's been selected. So currently and Carlos Santana. So there are, 5 catchers who have been selected. That means that 7 more need to be taken because this is a 1-catcher league. And that's leaves Wieters, Rosario, Montero, Napoli, Salvador Perez as the top 5 on Yahoo, and probably most people's top 5 in some order. And then 2 more after that. So 2 teams are going to get kind of the short end of the stick, I would say. But even then, you're taking a guy like Brian McCann, who has proven he's been good in the past. Jesus Montero, who does have upside. AJ Przinsky, who hits in a great park. And Lucroy, who, is fine. Not even to mention guys further down, like if you're an Alex Avila believer, I'm not totally on board, but who knows? He could kind of bounce back to what he did 2 years ago. After those first 2 picks, Michael Bourne, Johnny Cueto, and Anthony Rizzo were selected. We still have 2 auto drafters coming up before it's our turn to pick. And we're looking at Matt Lato's still at the top of the rankings. Desmond Jennings also available. So who knows if one of those guys will slide to us here. With 5 picks ahead of us, I'm not counting on it, especially because 2 of those players are auto drafters, and if one of these other players takes Chris Medlin as one of their picks, then Latos, Medlin, and Jennings will all be gone. After those guys on our rankings, we have Eric Hosmer, Giovanni Gallardo, Alex Gordon. Of those names, Gallardo's the guy I want, just because I need to start taking pitchers. And while I do like Hosmer, I don't necessarily need to start jamming guys into my utility slots right now. Other guys I like kind of near the top of our rankings are, I do like Medlin, I like Jordan Zimmerman, James Shields is fine. Like, pitchers at this point kind of all tend to be pretty good. That's why I like to wait, because you can kind of just patch together some form of a decent pitching staff in the middle rounds without sacrificing offense in the early rounds. That's not to say that I think this team is like the greatest offense ever assembled. In a 12-team league, though, it's not bad. I'm doing pretty good on power, assuming that Laurie doesn't crap the bed again. And the upside of like Hayward and Jones improving and Tulowitzki staying healthy are all pretty appealing to me. With that said, I do need to, like I said, I need to start getting some pitchers. I'm definitely not on the relief pitcher train yet, although I am interested to see who's available still. Yeah, all the big names have been gone, like Chapman, Kimbrel. Those guys have all been selected. Jason Mott is the top-ranked Yahoo closer. I think for us, it would be, it would appear to be Mott, then Soriano, then Joe Nathan. You can check out these staff rankings at thefakebaseball.com. Just click on the rankings tab or click on the staff rankings articles that pop up kind of near the middle of the page. After Johnny Cueto was selected, then I think I mentioned that Rizzo went. Then Alex Gordon, Martin Prado, and Matt Latos were taken. We've got 2 picks before we come up here, one of which is an auto pick. Chris Medlin and Desmond Jennings are the top of the Yahoo ranks. Desmond Jennings, Hanley Ramirez, Eric Hosmer are the top of our rankings. I would be fine with Gallardo here, although I think Jennings is the guy I really want, because, I was talking about taking him last round. Matt Moore was just selected, and this is one of the auto pickers. Says that she's logged out. Chris Medlin was taken. Okay, that was just a Yahoo default auto pick. I'm going to take Desmond Jennings here. I imagine our Nationals homer friend will take Jordan Zimmerman with one of his or her picks. That would leave Gallardo to me, and I am fine with that. So we'll see what he does. Examining kind of the rest of our top 100 here at the Fake Baseball, Paul Konerko's kind of coming up. I don't understand why he's ranked so low everywhere, but he is, and he very well could be available at our next pick. With that said, I'm going to take a pitcher. The wheel person took Hanley Ramirez and Fernando Rodney. Yikes. Two risky picks, in my opinion. But we're going to take Gallardo here. Zimmerman is rated higher on Yahoo. Let's see who I have rated higher. I have a feeling I probably have Gallardo ahead of Zimmerman. Yeah, I have Gallardo 23, Zimmerman 28, so they're close. But I'm not too concerned about the difference, to be honest. So yeah, Gallardo, welcome to the team, and we'll rejoin you for the 9th round in just a moment. Okay, welcome back. After I took Gallardo, Jordan Zimmerman was the next pick, then Roy Halladay, Freddie Freeman, Nelson Cruz, Rafael Soriano, Austin Jackson, James Shields, Mark Trumbo, Jason Mott, Brandon Morrow rounded out round 8. And round 9 has started with Melky Cabrera, Curtis Granderson, and Mariano Rivera, the Hammer God. So we've got 7 picks coming up before we're up. 3 auto picks, so the likely candidates to be gone at the top of the Yahoo rankings are Ryan Howard, Ike Davis, and Asdrubal Cabrera. Paul Konerko is now at number 3 overall in the Yahoo rankings of available players. I have him ranked behind Eric Hosmer in the staff rankings. In my rankings, I have Konerko 10, Hosmer 11, so they're close. If I take one, I'll probably take Hosmer if I'm given the option. With that said, I should also be looking at pitchers here. The top of our rankings have Josh Johnson, and then that's where the top 100 kind of ends. I think he was player number 100 on our overall rankings. So if we come here to the starting pitcher ranks, after Josh Johnson, we're looking at players such as, if I could find him, I could tell you. Ian Kennedy, Brandon Morrow, Jake Peavy, Dan Herron, Doug Fister, CJ Wilson, Jeff Smardzija. So that's kind of where we're at with the staff rankings. I would be glad to get Josh Johnson here. I'm not sure if that's somebody our wheel friend would take on his or her team. So we might be able to sneak Johnson through, especially because he's a little further down than Smardzija, Kennedy, and Peavy. Let's see. After Rivera was taken, Asdrubal Cabrera, Jose Altuve, Paul Konerko, Tim Lincecum, Carlos Gomez, and David Freese were taken. I like that Carlos Gomez pick. He was the guy I was talking about earlier as someone I could have taken instead of Jennings. And it's possible maybe I should have taken another pitcher instead of Jennings to go with Gallardo and then hope to get Gomez this round, although I didn't get him. Ryan Howard was just selected. So we are looking at Josh Johnson, Eric Hosmer as a possible back-to-back here. Hosmer fills one of the utility spots. He adds a little bit of speed to what is kind of a team with a lot of guys who have a little bit of speed. Aaron Hill, Brett Laurie, Troy Tulowitzki, Jason Hayward, Adam Jones. Desmond Jennings should steal, I'm hoping, at least 30 bases. I like squads like this where you kind of hedge your speed bets with, or you don't get as much power, but you're also getting guys who steal bases at the same time. So you have a very well-rounded team. Let's see. The guy on the wheel here does need a first baseman. So I think I'm going to take Hosmer first. If I get swooped on Josh Johnson, that's okay. There's still plenty of other pitchers here I'd be fine taking. I think PV would probably be my first choice. But yeah, let's grab Hosmer here. I have Hosmer ranked relatively high, I think, compared to a lot of folks. I do expect a bounce back year, but I haven't owned him yet, I don't think. I haven't drafted him. I keep on taking first baseman too early. Corner infield was too early to the point where I always need to be taking pitching when I'm taking Hosmer, although this is probably the same case where I should have taken just another pitcher. But I'm confident that I'll be able to find some more pitching values as this draft takes place, or as this draft kind of unfolds. Because at this point, all I need is a catcher, one more utility for my offense, and then all pitchers. And I think while all these other people are filling in the holes in their lineups at outfield, shortstop, second base, outfield, third base, utility, catcher, third base, outfield. I should be able to take advantage of that and get a lot of good value on pitchers who are probably slipping a little farther than maybe their rank says they should go. It's possible I put my wheel opponent here on tilt a little bit by taking Hosmer. He just tanked for a while and then took Adam LaRoche to fill his first base spot. That's a fine pick, though. I like LaRoche this year. He's a little safer than Hosmer, I think, to be honest, although he doesn't offer the same speed potential, which is something that this guy looks like he could have used, to be honest. He has Victor Martinez, Ryan Zimmerman, Josh Hamilton. I mean, he has Rios, Hanley Ramirez, but Ramirez is going to probably start the year on the DL, from what I understand. Could be wrong about that. Anyway, we're looking at Josh Johnson here. That's who we got our sights set on. After that, we're really just going to pitching town over and over again. And so I've kind of loaded up the queue here with mostly pitchers, but also some other players I wouldn't mind picking up for the utility spot or the catcher spot. Our opponent just took Howie Kendrick, so we're going to take Josh Johnson here, and I will be back in a moment for round 11. After I took Josh Johnson, Shane Victorino, Ricky Weeks, Matt Wieters, Hunter Pence, Dan Heron, Jeff Samardzija, Carlos Beltran, Joe Nathan, Ike Davis, and Miguel Montero were selected. And to start the 11th round, Jim Johnson was taken, then Chase Utley, Ian Kennedy, Jake Peavy, and Willen Rosario. So the catchers are starting to fly off the board here. We're looking at Napoli and Salvador Perez, Brian McCann, Jesus Montero, AJ Pierzynski, Jonathan Lucroy as the best catchers available, quote unquote. Everybody picking ahead of us here has a catcher, except for one player, and the guy at the wheel also has a catcher. If this auto-picking person who's drafting ahead of us does not end up with a catcher for that spot, I will not take one here in the 11th round. I'll probably wait till my second pick in the 12th round here and probably take Salvador Perez if he's there. He is one of the catchers I do really like. This is earlier than I would probably take him for the most part, but only a few of these pitchers around at this point actually are guys that I really want. I'm not a big Doug Fister, CJ Wilson fan. John Lester I like, but he scares me a little bit. And Hiroki Kuroda, he's pretty good, but I'm not excited to own him by any means. Yeah, I probably would take him ahead of Wilson or Fister, though. One of the things that you have to do when you kind of devalue pitching the way I do is prioritize guys who, one, will strike out a fair amount of batters. Fister doesn't really fit that bill. Wilson's okay, but the other thing you have to do is you really have to be careful about not taking guys who are drained on your whip. Like a bad ERA is one thing, but a mediocre ERA and a bad whip like this 1.34 that Wilson has is just, yeah, I don't really want to have to deal with that, because when you dig yourself in a hole that way, it's really hard to get back out in a roto league. So who else has been selected here? Jim Johnson, Chase Utley, Ian Kennedy, Jake Peavy, Willen Rosario, Sergio Romo. Okay. It's not too bad. There goes Mike Moustakas. That's a pretty good value for a third baseman. And let's see. So I've got one utility spot, the catcher spot left to fill, and some pitching spots left to fill. Josh Johnson was just taken. Or not Josh Johnson. John Lester, excuse me. So the top-ranked pitcher that I've got in this whole mess is almost certainly Anibal Sanchez. He's probably the guy I'll take here if available. I think that I can wait on catcher still if I need to. Like, I don't mind ending up with a guy like Napoli or somebody else. There are a handful of guys who still don't have one. Salvador Perez was just taken by not the auto pick team. Someone took him as a utility? Oh, God, that's just sloppy. Anyway, we are looking at pitchers then, because I am not taking Mike Napoli right now. I'll tell you that much. Okay, so Anibal Sanchez. Matt Harvey's also kind of cool. as a pick here. He's ranked higher on Yahoo by, I mean, 6 spots total in their rankings and 1 spot here in the starting pitcher differences. With that said, I'm going to go with the rankings. I'm going to take Sanchez, and we'll let the wheel guy decide what he's going to do. And with our next pick, we'll probably take another pitcher, either Kuroda or Matt Harvey, and we'll move on from there. Joel Hanrahan was one of his selections. Let's see if he takes another closer. He's got 2 now. After taking Strasburg and Gonzalez pretty early, he hasn't taken another starting pitcher since. And I think if you are going to spend early picks on pitching, that's kind of the way you have to do it. You have to, after you take those elite pitchers, really prioritize offense for the bulk of your next rounds. He tried to do that. I don't know how well he succeeded with guys like Howie Kendrick, Hanley Ramirez, and Adam LaRoche as his primary starters at some pretty premium positions. The Zimmerman pick's fine. I like Hamilton and Rios, but the rest of that offense kind of leaves me wanting more. Victor Martinez is a good catcher, I guess, but again, I'm not one for taking catchers early. Okay, we'll see what our friend does here. Of the Kuroda Harvey pick, I mean, it's hard to say which one's better. Harvey's definitely got a little more upside as a younger player, a guy who put up really good numbers in limited time last year, but Kuroda is pretty consistent. And playing on the Yankees, last year he had 16 wins, but I think playing on that team is not going to mean the same for starting pitcher win totals as it might have in previous seasons. So the 16 wins are a bit of a stretch probably, but the ERA and the WHIP are good. 167 strikeouts is fine. I don't know. With that said, I'm going to take Harvey here. I'll admit that I'm going against our staff rankings by avoiding Fister, Wilson, and Kuroda to some extent. But I don't know. I don't feel too bad about it. I'd rather bank on upside at this point. When you devalue pitching, you kind of have to look for some guys to rise above their draft value and outperform the round you took them in. And I think that Matt Harvey can do that. I'm not sure that Hiroki Kuroda can do that. Anyway, we'll be back for round 13 in just a second. All right, welcome back. After Matt Harvey was taken by yours truly, Mike Napoli, Greg Holland, Chase Headley, Tom Williamson, J.J. Putz, Doug Fister, Houston Street, Brian McCann, Derek Jeter, and Will Middlebrooks were taken. That leaves 2 managers so far that do not have catchers, one of them being me. The other is this guy right here, Juicy Brown. Juicy Braun. That's a little more clever and a little less disgusting than Juicy Brown. If he doesn't take a catcher here, I think we're pretty in the clear. I like Jesus Montero just as an upside play. Like, if he doesn't work out, you can drop him for one of these other schmoes down here, like Przynski, LaCroix, Arancibia, Avila. So I'm not too concerned about spending this first pick on a catcher. I would be much more likely to spend it on a utility player, someone like Norichika Aoki or maybe Todd Frazier, who's a guy I like a lot this year. Failing that, pitching is still a priority for me. Kuroda is still available, although nope, he was just selected. Before him went Andre Ethier, Nick Swisher, Josh Willingham, Ryan Vogelsong, Will Middlebrooks. I don't know if I mentioned Derek Jeter being selected, but he was also taken. So Mike Minor is at the top of the Yahoo pitching ranks. At the top of our ranks is still C.J. Wilson, then Lance Lynn and Mike Minor. I'm not a big Lance Lynn fan. If I was given the choice between any of these 3 guys, I would probably take Mike Minor. Again, as I feel like the upside is a little bit higher, and yeah, the other 2 guys scare me when it comes to their ERAs and WHIP. With that said, Wilson on an Angels team could see a lot of wins this year, and so I can't discount that too much, although he was just selected right after Hiroki Kuroda. Going back to other starting pitchers that are available, I'm not totally against Josh Beckett this year. I feel like it'll be hard for him to be worse than he was last season, although he's not a player I'd pick right now. Marco Estrada's a guy I like. I don't mind Matt Garza as a stash candidate. Brandon McCarthy is a guy I've been targeting in a lot of drafts. He's somebody I'm going to add to the queue. I am up here after CJ Wilson, Jason Greeley, Norichika Aoki, Brett Anderson, and Danny Espinoza were taken. So that leaves us looking at pitchers and Jesus Montero and maybe a utility bat here. I would like to get Todd Frazier on my team. With that said, I think there are plenty of other viable, what do you want to call it, just utility players I could plug in there. Your Michael Kadires, your Michael Morses, Adam Eaton even, or Jason Kubel, Lorenzo Cain, that I don't think I need to worry about filling that spot just yet. I think a pitcher is a little bit more of a priority. I can look at relief pitchers as well at this point. John Axford is the highest ranked Yahoo closer, and he is a closer that I like. I know I've been talking about how I don't like bad ERAs and whips, but I don't think he's going to be as bad this year as he was last year. And he does rack up a lot of strikeouts for a closer, which is something I value pretty highly. So he's on my radar here. The pick basically comes down to him or Mike Minor. Let's see who's ranked higher in Yahoo's world. Looks like Mike Minor's slightly ahead. I'm going to take Axford here. Get at least one of my relief pitchers set up here. I don't think it's a great pick, but I don't mind making that pick right now either. I'm pretty sure I'm still not taking a utility player with this next selection. I'm still more interested in either Montero at my catcher spot as kind of a breakout candidate, or another starter, Mike Minor or someone else. I think I'm probably going to wait on a starter at this point and take Jesus Montero, as he's the catcher I like the most out of the remaining guys. And I don't want to... I like to wait on catcher, but I don't like to be the last guy to select a catcher, because when you become that person, other players in the draft tend to try to hack the pick from you and like steal your catchers, which, while I don't think is a good strategy for them per se, is annoying as a person who's trying to get a catcher who isn't a total bum. The guy at the wheel took Torrey Hunter, Alcides Escobar. I took Jesus Montero in the 14th round, and we'll be back in just a moment for the 15th.